Hi, welcome back. Now, in this particular video, we'll cover some of the text functions, and these functions are used to manipulate data, uh, concatenate data, extract information from, say, a particular value. So we'll go through these examples as we go through these functions. Now, the first one which we'll cover over is the exact function. Now, this particular function checks whether two values are exactly same or not. And when I say exactly, it also checks whether they are in the same case or not. So it is case sensitive. So let's look at the syntax first. Is equal to exact and then text1 comma text2. So these are text1 and text2 are the values which we want to check whether they are same or not. So I've got these two cells over here. I've got XL and XL written in both of them. So it's giving it a true value, and that is because both of them are same. But when I compare XL with XL, where the latter part is in small case, you can see it's giving it as a false value because they are not correct. So this is how exact function is used. Let's move on to concatenate. Now concatenate, as the name suggests, it's used to join several text strings into one. You can have, when I say text strings, it can be numbers, it can be texts, it can be dates. So you can just club them together. There are a couple of ways by which you can concatenate two or more columns. So one is by calling the function concatenate and then parenthesis string one, string two, and so on, whatever you want to concatenate together. Or instead of calling the concatenate function, you can use ampersand. So string one ampersand, string two ampersand, and so on. So let's say I've got these three columns over here, which consists of different data. So this is text, this is numeric, this is again text, and we just want to concatenate them together. So the first way is just use concatenate, pass the cell locations over here A20, comma B20, comma C20, and we'll get all of them clubbed together. The other way, as I said, is using ampersand. So A22 ampersand B22 ampersand C22. So that again gives the same result as using a concatenate function. Now you can also have spaces in between them. So for example, if I want my result or my output to have spaces between each of these strings, so I'll use the concatenate function. I'll pass on the first cell location, then followed by a comma. In my double inverted commas over here, I've got a space, then comma, then cell location again, comma, then again I'm passing a blank space, C24. So as you can see that all of these three strings, they have been concatenated together, but they've got a space between each of them. Similarly, just like you're passing on space, you can pass on semicolons or other special characters as well. So instead of a blank space over here, we've got a semicolon. So this is how concatenate function can be used. I've got an example over here, and so you've got three rows where you need to use the concatenate function and four where you need to use the ampersand function. So this gives you a good idea of how to use concatenate function. So let's say, for example, you've got name, you've got DOB, so Mark, Ted, Mark, date of birth is, let's say, January 18, then you've got Feb 18, then you've got March 18. Now, by the looks of it, if you just look at the name field, you will say that there are two distinct records, but both of these marks are different people. One was born in January 18 and the other one was born in March 18. So if someone says you to identify unique records just on the basis of name, what you might end up doing is remove duplicates, and you're basically just removing mark getting repeated twice. So you might think of, as just two records, but let's say if you concatenate them together, and this is just a very vague example of how it can be used. Of course, you can do the remove duplicates thing on both sets of the columns. So now it gives you that there are three different records. So this is just one way how you can use concatenate function. But again, as I said, it's very vague example. Now let's move on to the next function, which is trim function. Now, as the name suggests, trim is used to trim something. And in the case of Excel, it is used to remove leading or trailing spaces or remove extra spaces between words. So let's look at the syntax first. It's very simple. You just call the trim function and then pass on the cell location uh, for which you want to remove the spaces. The first cell over here, this does not conserve any trailing spaces or anything like that. So it will give you the output just like it is. If you look at the second value over here, it consists of extra spaces in between. So calling the trim function, it removes those extra spaces. In the third example over here, we've got some leading spaces over here, so it just removes them. And in the fourth one, we've got some trailing spaces, so it removes them. So trim can be used when, say, you are doing a VLOOKUP, which we will cover later in the coming videos. So trim function can be used then, say you've got data from two different sources and one of them has, and you want to match both of them. Say even if you're using an exact function and you want to match those. And now because this data is from different sources, one of them consists of extra spaces. So you can then just use a trim function first and then use an exact function or a VLOOKUP function depending upon what you want. So I've got an exercise over here also. So just go through it and yeah, you will get a better idea of how to use uh, trim and concatenate or ampersand together. Moving on to the substitute function. Now, as the definition states over here, it is used to replace a part of a text in a string with something else. Substitute function is also used to clean data, and this function is case sensitive. Let's look at the syntax. So first we are calling the substitute function. Then text is basically the cell location where you want to make changes. Old text is, say, the letter or the numbers which you want to change, and the new text is basically the values which you want now instead of the old ones. And the instance number is that particular instance of the old text which you want to replace with the new text. It is optional, but if you do not provide it, it will make changes to all the occurrences of old text with the new text. Now let's look at the examples below just to understand this better. I've got my string as hut and I want to make it as hub. So I want to remove this T. I want to replace it with B. So my function would be substitute. My cell location is A26. Then I'm substituting my old text, which is T, with B. So I'm getting as hub. Now let's look at the second one, which is Bumble, and I want to make it into Tumble. So I just want to remove the first B, not the second one, because then that will make it as Tumble, which I don't want. Now over here, then I'll have to specify the instance which I want to remove. So substitute, I want to remove B and that to the first instance of B, and I want it to be updated with a T. So this is my function. The next one is the car is in the driveway. Now let's say if I just want to remove the, so I'll just call substitute the, and over here I'm just replacing the by a blank space. The next one is the car is in the driveway. Now I want the result to be the car is in a driveway. So basically I want to remove the second instance or second occurrence of the in this particular phrase. So my substitute function would be substitute cell location the with an A, and I want to remove the second instance of the rather than the first one. The last one is the car is in the driveway. I want to remove the first the, so I'll just do a substitute A30 the. Now over here I have not specified any instance because as I said that this function is case sensitive, and over here this particular the has T as in capital, it's in uppercase, so that is why it is not doing any harm to the second occurrence of T. Again, I've got an exercise for you over here, so just go through it. The next one is text upper, As the name suggests, it converts the entire text string into uppercase. So I've got upper and then just passing on the cell location. So if I've got laptop over here, I want to change it to laptop with all capital letters. I'll just use upper and pass on the cell location. Similarly, if I've got Excel, I want to convert it into Excel with all caps, just use upper function. So that is all on the upper. Lower is opposite of upper. It will convert everything to lowercase. So I've got Excel over here using lower function. It will put everything to lowercase. Laptop with a capital L, we'll have everything lowercase. Length. Now length is used a lot with left and right functions, and it is used to extract data. So let's look at length first. So it gives the number of characters in a string, text or numeric value. It will also count the space and special characters. And as I said, it's used a lot for data manipulation or data extraction using the left and right functions. So I've got laptop over here. Now this has 6 characters. So if I call the function is equal to len and pass all the send location, it will give me 6. Excel has 5 characters, but the reason I'm getting one extra is because I've got a trailing space over here. Superstore is closed, has 22 characters. 90, which is a numeric digit over here, has just 2 characters. Let's look at left. Now this function returns the number of specified characters from the start of the string. So let's say I've got a string as my left would be from this way. So it's from this to this, and my right function would be the opposite side. So it would be from this side, right? Anyways, so the syntax is equal to left text, which is the cell location and number of characters. So let's look at laptop, and let's say I want the first 5 characters. So I don't want the last P basically. So I'll have is equal to left my cell location comma 5. So it is giving me the first 5 characters. Next one is Excel is wow, and I just want Excel is. So that's first 8 characters. Excel has 5, then a space 6, and then is 2. So that is 8 characters. So is equal to left cell location comma 8 will give me this. Let's say I've got a number over here 90 and I just want 9, so it is equal to left, then I'm passing on the cell location comma 1. So this is how left function is used. There are 2 exercises over here. One just uses the normal left function and the other which uses left and length functions together, which is something I find really interesting for manipulating data. Let's say I've got data from a specific source which consists of the name, and then it consists of, say, the bank balance. And if I just want to extract the name, so I can use the left function. So as you can see, by using the left function, I can extract information from a specific phrase or a string. So as you start using length and left, right, mid functions more, you'll get more used to them. And these are very simple, straightforward applications of these functions. So then you can start making more complex functions out of them. Let's move on to the right function. Now, this particular function returns the number of specified characters from the end of the string. So as I said earlier, that left goes from A to H, whereas right goes from H to A. So it goes the other way. Now again, it's similar to left. It's used for data manipulation a lot, and the syntax is also very similar. Just that instead of left, we are using right over here. Let's say I've got my string as laptop and I just want top from it. So these are the first three characters from the end. So is equal to right A19 comma 3. Over here, let's look at 90 and I just want 0. So that's the first character from the end. So is equal to right A22 comma 1. Now over here, I'm using the length and the right function together. So what I'm basically doing over here is I'm using the right function. I'm passing on the cell location. I'm calculating the length of this particular value over here, and then I'm subtracting 16 from it. So again, I've given two exercises over here. One is just based on the right function itself, and the other one is based on right and length function together. So that is all what we'll have in this video. In the next one, we'll look at some of the date functions. Thank you.